one politician in particular, already saw in the polls, she is vowing to make this a very big issue. Pauline Hanson is the leader of One Nation and joins me now. Pauline, thank you for joining me on this ghastly day after that horrible thing that has shamed our country. What has happened to Australia, Pauline, that for the first time in our history we get this kind of horrific mass murder of Jews?
We've turned a blind eye to it, and the politicians have done this over a number of decades, that they've allowed this to happen. As you've said in your editorial, what you've said, people they brought into the country even, 49 years ago, the wrong people have been brought in here with the wrong ideology, the people that will not assimilate into Australian culture and values. And we're not on the same page. And I've been speaking about this for many, many years. And when I spoke out against multiculturalism in 1996, people boo-hooed me and they said, oh, well, I wouldn't know. It's all about the food. It's not about the food, people. It's got nothing to do with the food. It's about the cultural beliefs. It's about obeying the laws. It's about assimilating. It's about feeling that you are part of this country, that you embrace this land, you embrace your fellow Australians. And we've brought the wrong people here. And I've been speaking about this for so long. Susan Lee, to listen to her, I think she's pathetic. She doesn't warm me up at all, and I don't have confidence in her, the same as I don't have confidence in our Prime Minister, who is weak, gutless, and I've just got no time for them whatsoever. Australians now were angry last night, they're sad today, and they just don't know where to turn. They don't feel they're safe in this country anymore, and they have a right to feel that way. Unless we get strong leadership and we really turn the focus on who these men are, what the background is, why were they doing this, it's got nothing to do with the guns. It's about the ideology that these men felt and believed in, and that's what we've got to turn around. Take a good hard look at our immigration, which I've been on about for years and years and years, and I feel like till I'm blue in the face, and yet, I hear such weak, pathetic words from, the opposition leader and our Prime Minister.
Well, you say it's not about the guns. The Prime Minister seems to think he's solved it all, solved a lot of it today. He met other leaders this afternoon and came out and said, well, we've now got tougher gun controls so that people like that older killer yesterday can't have 6 guns and can't have any guns if they're not an Australian citizen. Now, I didn't know this whole tragedy could be wrapped up this simply and so quickly. Did you?
You know what? They're defecting the whole issue, and he hasn't even said they're Islamic terrorists. Not once have I heard him say that. So they're defecting the whole lot about guns. And there you have the farmers, you have law-abiding shooters out there saying, well, have we got to take the blame for this? Are we going to be faced with losing our guns because they didn't do the right thing? As I pointed out in the release that I put out, this was a fellow, 24 years of age, that was under ASIO. He was investigated, for radicalisation, and yet he was living with his father who had 6 guns. Why wasn't he investigated? If you've got a domestic violence, you can't be in a house that has guns. Why was he allowed to be in the house with his father with the guns there? So, the Prime Minister is wrong on this point. And I will not support him with changing the gun laws in Australia with regards to this. The government and the departments have failed to deal with this issue, the younger one, and living with his father who had the gun licence. So I think they've passed the buck. I blame the Prime Minister. He's the one who's got blood on his hands. He has got blood on his hands. They didn't deal with the whole issue. I've known for the last 2 years. Because it's been bubbling over. When I spoke to the Jewish boys that came to Parliament House and I spoke to them on the lawns, they were being bullied. We've seen this happen time and time again. He brought out these refugees from Gaza that we know they can't stand each other. Their cultures are totally different. Why bring them out here to Australia when even Muslim countries wouldn't have them? Why bring out the ISIS brides and their children to Australia when Australians don't want them? Why do we keep bringing people in the country that are not compatible with our culture and our way of life? Australians keep asking these questions. He knew there was an issue with the Jewish people. He said, we don't want division here in our country. He's created the division because he never reined in these Islamic clerics with the hatred on our streets and in their prayer rooms. It was the hatred that's kept going on. And he made the Jewish people feel it was their issue, their problem, they're the cause of all this, which they weren't. And that's why I stood up for them. And I spoke up on behalf of the Jewish people who are, Australians here have a right to live in peace and harmony.
Well, just in the corner of the screen, viewers will see we are getting live shots of the vigil. We'll keep running some of that during the evening. You can see a mountain of flowers. This has really, really affected Australians, Pauline, but I think it should have. Yep. And perhaps it shouldn't have come as such a shock, given I think this was years in the making. But Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for your time. Now, we know the names of some of the victims so far. They include Matilda, just 10 years old, Alexander Kleitman, Dan Elkayam, Peter Ma, Rabbi Eli Schlanger, one of two rabbis, Reuven Morrison, Rabbi Yaakov Levitan, Tibor Weitzen. I mean, oh gosh, there's so more that we're going to hear from, of course. Not all the names have been released, and God spare any more names being added to the dead, because we've still got a lot of people in hospital. I should say something about the heroism we saw yesterday. There was from the police, 2 officers now in a critical condition in hospital, trying to save their fellow citizens. Also the courage of the many people who helped the injured while bullets were flying, and especially the courage of a civilian, Ahmed al-Ahmed, who pounced on the eldest of the 2 gunmen and even disarmed him. He didn't shoot him, maybe he was out of bullets. And then he was shot at by the younger of the killers. He was hit twice. And yes, Ahmed is himself a Muslim and a hero, an Australian hero who I hope will never have to buy lunch in this town again, in this country again. He should be feted everywhere he goes as a symbol of what we can be. But let me be blunt to those saying that, see, if we restricted immigration from Muslim countries, we wouldn't get a fine Australian like Al-Ahmed. And they are right. That would be our loss. That said, we also wouldn't have got the killers. And one hero doesn't bring back all their victims.